Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. Well, like I talked about, I guess, over the last week and a half or so, ever since the Chinese spy balloon incident, I said at that time that it was basically, this is going to be used by the Pentagon and the mainstream to make it look like there's nothing to, uh, you know, uh, UFO sightings, that it's all, yeah, you could find a conventional explanation to all of it. And then we, of course, we had the other three objects, which are turning out to be nothing burgers, just like I pointed out during the time as those things were happening. I pointed out that, and a lot of people in the UFO community saw that. Some people, unfortunately, did not. They go on Twitter and they start talking about, oh, it looks like everything's happening. Oh, it's so crazy. Well, no, 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 no. You have to understand that. I mean, this was basically a ruse, a setup for what we're getting now. Now, basically the mainstream media is making fun of all of this, pointing out that it's all nothing. It's all, let's all laugh about it because it's all goofy and stupid, and people who believe in this stuff are idiots and dumbbells and all that kind of stuff, right? That's all. Basically, that's what's going on. But I guess like we're gonna start. I guess I'm gonna start here with there was actually some stuff on Twitter from different debunkers. Like, they latched onto this. Oh, they loved it so much. They love this kind of stuff because basically what it does, it gives them. It's basically it gives them like something to latch onto. I mean, they're already lying to you and gaslighting you, and they don't do any research, real research into this subject. They never have, and now they act. This gives them the ability, now that there was people out there stating, like, there were some people in the UFO community when these objects were first being spotted and shot down, that some people were getting, oh, it must be from aliens. Some people in the UFO community were acting that way, but not all, just some. But now they're using this as a way to show, to demonstrate that, oh yeah, see, it's all nothing. It turned out to be nothing after all, right? And of course, Mick West is a number one on this when it comes to this. And here's what he was. Here was a tweet from February 14th that he put out. It says, "Lessons being learned from the balloon incursions." Well, let me before we get into his lessons, right there. What lessons are there to be learned, really? I mean, for anybody who's been studying this, anybody who's been following this phenomenon for a long time, there's we all know this. I mean, I don't know how many times I've said in all the podcasts that I've done. I know I've said it multiple times, right? That most UFOs do have a conventional explanation. There's no lesson to be learned here. Okay, a Chinese spy balloon and three other objects that are probably going to turn out to be balloons or some sort of drone or some weather device, something privately owned. Apparently that's what President Biden was saying today. To calm everyone's nerves down. Whose nerves were really upset over this? I mean, I like to know that. I like to know whose nerves are upset about balloons and weird objects getting shot down. I mean, what kind of person is all sitting? Are they hiding in their basement, worried about this kind of stuff? I mean, you have to be a fool. Anyhow. Yeah, well, let's go through his Mick West lessons being learned from the balloon incursions. Number one, lots of UFOs are balloons. No duh. No duh, Mick. Like, we don't know that. People in the UFO community know this. There's a lot of things out there that people see, they don't know what it is, and it turns out to be a balloon. That's a known fact. Everybody, what lessons is there to be learned? This lesson's already been learned. There's no new lesson to be taught here. You're just using this as an excuse to try to make it look silly, that's like you always do. Number two, balloons are difficult for military pilots to characterize. Okay, if you're flying, extremely fast through the air, and you go by a balloon, okay, maybe you're gonna have a trouble understanding what it is. But we're not talking about these kind. But the people in the UFO community aren't concerned about balloons, right? We're not. There's other things out there. Okay. I've seen one of these objects, and it's not just these things aren't just flying way up in the atmosphere. They come down to the ground on 2.5 stories off the ground, like the thing that I saw, right? Things that land. People are talking about that. You never talk about those things, though, right? That's nobody wants to talk about that. Number 3, military not ignoring airspace incursions. They never ignored them. Even when they weren't reporting them, they weren't ignoring them, right? They would report, they wouldn't, a lot of pilots wouldn't want to sign reports. Now, these days, they'll sign a report to it. But what are you talking about? Military's not ignoring airspace incursions. There's stuff floating around all the time. This was just a show. This was all theater to say, hey, we could shoot things down. They could do this every single day of the week if they wanted to. They just decided to do it right now as a show to say, hey, look there's nothing to this. And guess what? The media bought it hook, line, and sinker, and we'll get into that later on. It's absolutely ridiculous. Number 4, none of this supports the ET non-human intelligence hypothesis. Oh, who said it did? I mean, who says balloons support that? What less? Again, there's no lesson. Nobody ever says that. Who says that? Who says that? And it doesn't support anything. It doesn't even support your position, because people have been, there are balloons. We know this. I mean, out of 100%, out of those, for instance, those 366 objects in that last report, okay, over half of them were identified as balloons and junk floating around. Okay, the other half, maybe if they had more information, they'd be able to say that they're balloons too. But there is a percentage out there, right? There are things that military pilots see and report over the years that defy explanation. Again, things like the Tic Tac that Fravor saw, or the gimbal what you're so obsessed about that it's a flying saucer, Mick. It's a flying saucer. Look at the thing. Maybe you need to get your eyes checked. And then number 5, skeptics are more vindicated than non-human intelligence. No, there's no what's vindicated? I mean, what happened here? What does this prove? It doesn't prove anything. It proves that there's balloons floating around up there. That's all. What does that matter? Doesn't matter. So anyway, actually, it was a response. I'll just go through some of this and look at some of the tweets here. There was a UFO truth digger, Anthony G, responded to him and says, the thing most learned here is that skeptics hide in the shadows when things go down till they get wind or information they can boost and flaunt like they are kings. Yeah, true. Yeah. It's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. I mean, again, there's nothing. All this was a show of basically theater, like I talked about recently. From the Pentagon to show that look, there's things up there and we just can shoot them down easily. Hey, there was no extraterrestrials here. I mean, that's crazy, right? I mean, that's all this was. It's just it's all nonsense. I mean, I know this for a fact, and I'll get into all of this stuff here. Let's see here. Let me go. There was another tweet that he posted here. This was just today, actually. He posted, not aliens, not advanced technology, just balloons. The U.S. and Canada got a bit trigger happy and are now stepping back and trying to come up with some better procedures. Meanwhile, this is all interesting perspective for ufology to ponder. How many old cases were balloons? I'm sure there's tons of old cases that were balloons. Most people who in ufology recognize this. There's a lot of, I guarantee you there's a lot of things that are balloons, but there are some things, right, that are not balloons. There are things that are moving around at incredible speeds and maneuvering in ways that any kind of aircraft or balloon, right, would be able to do. So again, this is all nonsense. They're just using this as, again, it's a shame. It's a shame that that the Pentagon, that we're still playing this game, that they're still trying to play these old tricks on us, old tricks of old on the public. Okay, so of course there was also Lou Elizondo was getting made fun of by Stephen Greenstreet. This guy posted something on Twitter. He's been posting all kinds of stuff. This guy actually, Stephen Greenstreet from the New York Post, he thinks he's smart when it comes to this stuff, and he's just an awful person. I mean, this guy. Right, he seems more like a woman scorned. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Apparently, at some point, somebody in the UFO community, whether it was Lou Elizondo, somebody didn't give an interview apparently back in the day, and he got all butthurt over it. And now he's taking his revenge. He was crying. He was all upset. At some point in the past, he was all upset. They're not going to talk to me, and I feel like I'm really important. Right, so then now ever since then, right, he has to try to make fun of the whole thing. Doesn't really do any research. He just keeps harping on the same nonsense all the time. This guy's just a joke. He's an absolute joke. That's what he is. But anyway, he posted this little video on on Twitter. It says, balloon expert Lou Elizondo resigned from the Pentagon to warn us all about balloons. Here he is on CNN in 2021 making complete sense. This guy, Greenstreet's being completely facetious here on purpose. I'll turn the sound on for this. Let's see.
You actually did share new declassified reports with our team, and they detail intelligence on UFOs resembling something like a tic-tac going all the way back to 1947. You got a CIA report from 1953 says Swedish airline pilots encountered a silver or white flying lozenge traveling at high speed.
I think the fact that you have pilots separated by decades, if not generations, reporting the same type of observations, describing the same, what is essence, the same object, a 40-foot long, whether it's a white flying butane tank or a white flying tic-tac or a white flying lozenge. At the end of the day, they're describing the same thing.
Okay, I'm done with this. He's making fun of. I'm gonna put this on pause here. So basically, Greenstreet's making fun of this, saying that all the stuff that came from newspapers and things like that, and the reports that Elizondo's referring to. But there's been reports filed by the military, military personnel. I mean, we could all go all the way back until the late 1940s. I believe General Nathan Twining put out that report. It was classified at one point, and then later on it was declassified, where he admitted that some of these their flying saucers are out there, that pilots are seeing them all the time. And there's just so many reports over the year that that have been, that the government has filed. Some of them have been declassified. Now he's talking about ones that Lou was talking about that came from newspaper reports that were collected by the government. Which, so what? What does it matter? So they were collected. Oh, because they're in a newspaper, that doesn't count. And I guess nobody should even read the New York Post, because then that doesn't count. It's a piece of trash anyway, right? It's just a tabloid piece of trash. So we shouldn't even read that then, right? If that's his argument, I don't know. But what does it matter? People have been seeing these for decades, since the late 1940s, on a regular basis. So this guy, again, he's a joke too. But anyway, actually, Elizondo responded here. He said, "This is a contentious topic, and I have a lot of haters. Best to ignore them and keep focused on the real events that are ongoing. My advice is to ignore the armchair quarterbacks. Please know we are working diligently on your behalf. Thanks for your support." And then actually, Dr. Gary Nolan, he also responded. He said, "This is something I learned in the mind game battles in the halls of academia. If you have the luxury of ignoring your enemy, do so. It destabilizes them. Their earliest critiques usually show a modicum of logic, but as you counter, they then ignore them. They descend into formless fury. Then you step right over them and proceed to the goal as they sputter in your wake." Well, that's all fine and dandy, but I'm not going to ignore it. I need to point this out. I'm pointing it out today. I think it's important to point some of the nonsense out that some of the debunkers are putting out there. Against this Stephen Greenstreet, there's venom. There's venom in everything he puts out there. It seems more personal to him. This is not. He's basically become a venomous troll. And that's what he is. I mean, it doesn't seem like he really has an interest in this subject, other than to troll the UFO community, and for whatever reason. Again, I think he must have been in some time in the past. He must have been somebody must have ignored him, and he got upset. That's what it seems like to me. He's like a big crybaby over it now. Okay, and then I want to go to this one. Now, of course, Neil deGrasse Tyson, he showed up on MSNBC recently here, and he's talking about stuff here, and we'll listen to some of the stuff that he has to say here, and then I'll talk about it as we go through it here. But again, it's totally, this is unbelievable. I mean, the stuff that we're getting from, I mean, how the media is reacting to this. I mean, this is, I expected this. I expected that we were going to get something like this, and it's even though I expected it, I still find it unbelievable that this has happened, that we're actually getting this.
But we do have the actual White House of the United States engaging with this question. When you hear people say, because they're shooting things out of the sky, could they possibly be alien life, you say?
I would say if it remains unidentified, there's a chance it could be. However, just think it through. If aliens crossed the galaxy in whatever is their spaceship and arrived at Earth just to throw some balloons across North America, I'm thinking, really? Really? And even if the aliens did do that, are those the aliens you want to meet? They cannot be interesting aliens. The best they've got are some floaties, cylindrical and octagonal floaties that any F-22 fighter jet can just knock out of the sky.
All right, so we're going to do this. We're going to do.
Okay, let's just stop there for a second. Now, I mean, again, this is totally ridiculous. What does this have to do with it? This should have not. What happened in the past week and a half, right? Starting with the Chinese spy balloon and those other 3 objects, shouldn't even have the concept of the extraterrestrial reality, right? Shouldn't even be part of this discussion. I mean, these objects were just sitting there in the sky, obviously like targets, and they were easily shot down. Who was saying that they're extraterrestrial? I mean, I don't know. I know some people in the UFO community, maybe on Twitter initially, right? But who's saying this? Who's really saying that? I like to know that. It's mostly the debunkers and stuff that's saying, hey, they're all going to think it's extraterrestrial. Because I don't know. I know if we were to go back and go look in the podcast that I made, starting with the Chinese spy balloon nonsense, I know that I was pointing out that this is just nonsense. This is just prosaic objects. I mean, that it was nothing, that they were all conventional. I mean, I know I was saying that. I'm assuming that there might be a few here and there, right? But that we're saying, oh, it could be aliens. But I don't see how it turned into this. It's like the media just, they're making a story out of this. It's manufactured. That's what it seems like to me. It's manufactured. Anyway, let's listen to the rest of this interview between Ari Melber and Neil deGrasse Tyson that was on MSNBC.
Do the alien thing on the news, okay?
I love aliens.
Okay.
Nobody doesn't love the aliens.
That answer is very persuasive, and there is no public evidence here leading towards extraterrestrial life.
Correct.
But the counterpoint to that answer would be that a very sophisticated foreign entity, not of this world or this neighborhood, might be doing things that we don't fully understand, or might send out their little thing to test, and it's not the full spacecraft. Okay, I'm sorry, but that's the question.
Okay, so all I'm saying is, if you an alien that can cross the galaxy, we're worms to them. Okay, I mean, just think to yourself what this is. Oh, we're going to put this in there. We think it's going to work, and we hope they don't shoot it down with their jets. I just give aliens more credit.
You're saying, because when you
know another one? People say, oh, the aliens has a crash landing site over here. Really? Once again, the aliens crossed the galaxy and crashed?
So you're making a point that...
Okay, let's stop there again. See, again, this guy has, for one thing, this guy has done absolutely zero research on this subject. He's making a joke out of it. And again, I mean, who was going around? I'd like to know from the UFO community. It couldn't have been a lot of people. I didn't hear Lou Elizondo or Jeremy Corbell or anyone running around saying they're shooting down alien spacecraft. Who was saying this? It's the media saying this, that people are thinking that. That's just what's bothering me about. I mean, this is like it's like we're being, again, I talked about this all the time. We're being tricked. It's like a trick. And the media is just going along with it. It's actually the media, during press conferences and things like that, where they're sitting around joking, was that aliens? And then some official from the White House says there's no aliens. And I'm going to show you something later on with regard to that. It's unbelievable what you're seeing here. Like, I just can't. But anyway, before I continue, I want to hear, there's some other stuff that deGrasse Tyson says here that really will get you upset. Here you go.
That is scientific in nature, which is you're reminding everyone that if they got here beyond what we can see, then they probably traveled light years. They would be some different level.
A whole other level than sticking floaties in our atmosphere. That's all.
Yeah.
Plus, we have crowdsourced any possible alien invasion on this Earth. Because there's 6 billion smartphones in the world, and everybody can take a high-resolution still frame or video camera. We have 1 million people at any moment who are airborne, who can look out their windows.
So that then goes to something we've talked about.
Okay, there we go. Again, we keep hearing this one from him, that because we all have cell phones, right? All of us have cell phones, right? Because of that, then we should definitely have the absolute positive proof of the extraterrestrial presence. I guess this guy doesn't seem to understand if there's something coming here from across, who knows where how far away they're coming here, right? If they have the ability to travel, thousands of light years through space, or millions of light years through space, or however they're getting here, I don't know, who knows, right? And they're here, right? And they have more technology that's way more advanced than we have. I think that they understand that I'm sure at some point during their evolution they had something like this too, right? And they're way beyond that now, right? I mean, some people catch them on cell phones. Sometimes we get some cell phone UFOs, right? Some people capture them on. He's talking about one of the things he brings up here is filming the aliens themselves, somebody getting abducted, like that's going to be something that they're going to allow you to do. It's just so absurd. I mean, this guy has not actually studied this, and why do they keep bringing him on to talk about it? They don't bring any real UFO experts on ever. Anyway, let's continue with this idiocy.
So I'm just saying, I need better evidence than just we don't know what it is, therefore it's alien.
Well, this goes to something that you're so good at, which is...
Okay, again, he needs better evidence than we just don't know what it is to say, okay, yeah, okay, but here's again, you're not even looking at the evidence. You're not even studying the evidence. Did this guy ever look at the Ariel school incident, right? Did he ever study that? Did he ever look at the Turkey UFO videos, which was looked at by video experts from 4 different countries who verified and said it wasn't faked? So obviously this guy's not done any research. He's not read any books on this. He has no idea what he's talking about. But they keep bringing him on and they turn it into a joke. Look at it. It's a laugh fest. They're making fun of this. They're making fun of this. Then you wonder when people see things or actual, real up close encounters. You wonder why people don't want to step up and say anything about it, because they're going to feel like people are going to laugh at them because it's nonsense like this.
You're talking about the empirical and epistemological nature of this era, that unlike, say, 1,000 years ago, where you couldn't get from continent to continent and you didn't have real-time information, you're saying there's more evidence than ever that currently does not support intelligent life out there.
You can live stream anything your camera sees. Because in the old days, what happened to the camera? Or the alien zapped it, so it didn't work. You can thanks to the ACLU and police conduct, we can live stream whatever's in front of us, all right? And so in doing so, if an alien walked towards you, that would be viral. Look, cat videos go viral. If I have a high-resolution image of an alien walking out of a spaceship,
let's go.
You'd be or the janitor at Area 51,
yeah,
get a shot. Yeah, he'd lose his job the next day, but it'd be the wealthiest, most famous janitor there ever was.
So are you more
I mean, again, it's so absurd, the things that he's saying. It's so absurd. I mean, to think that, okay, you're going to live stream getting abducted, stuff like that, or the janitor at Area 51 is going to this guy doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. They wouldn't have a janitor that's going to live stream something from Area 51 on there. I'm sure that there's no way to live stream stuff from Area 51 or any place on this world, on this country, where they're hiding recovered alien craft or bodies. I'm sure that that's set up where people would be unable to live stream it, right? Again, this guy it's idiocy. This is pure idiocy. I don't know. Let's see what else he has to say.
Convinced now than before that there's not current alien life out there.
That's a perfect way to say it. I would say our capacity to detect alien life with the crowdsourcing of eyes on Earth tells me that is less convincing than ever before. Correct. And just because you see something in the sky and you don't know what it is, it does not mean that you know what it is. Yeah. Think about it. People do this. They, wow, lights in the sky. I don't know what it is. It must therefore be aliens visiting from another planet. You just said you don't know what it is. That's the end of the conversation. By the way, go out, keep checking, grab them.
Okay. See, again, boy, it's so upsetting to see this again. And then this is just one little segment from the mainstream media. I'm gonna rewind this to the very beginning, because before this started, there was actually they had a collage, a montage of different people talking, officials, members of the media talking about this whole Balloongate. That's what I call it, Balloongate stuff. Here we go.
There is no indication of aliens or extraterrestrial activity.
I don't think the American people need to worry about aliens.
I've not been convinced that, life exists elsewhere.
The NORAD commander refused to rule out that the 3 most recent objects were aliens.
It could be aliens, it could be balloons, or it could be alien balloons.
There is no evidence of alien life on Earth other than Ted Cruz.
Okay, so there you go. I mean, it's turned into a big national joke, right? They've used this whole, and the Pentagon knew what they were doing. They knew what was going on. They knew what this was going to cause. They knew that the mainstream are a bunch of idiots when it comes to this. They knew what was going to happen, right? But anyway, before I even move on, I just want to, there was a quote that I saw that from Abraham Lincoln with regarding assertions, people making assertions like this, people like the debunkers, like the Stephen Greenstreets out there, people like the Mick West, people like Neil deGrasse Tyson saying that he doesn't see any evidence. Well, he's not. His eyes aren't open. He hasn't done any studying, and yet he's the main person that they bring on TV to talk about this all the time. But anyway, here's what something that Abraham Lincoln said. He says, "I believe it is an established maxim in morals that he who makes an assertion without knowing whether it is true or false is guilty of falsehood, and the accidental truth of the assertion does not justify or excuse him." Like this fall to me, right? That quote, that to people like Stephen Greenstreet, who makes assertions that there's nothing to this, right? Mick West, who makes pretty much assertions that there's nothing to this. Neil deGrasse Tyson, now he's more convinced than ever because we just shot down basically 4 balloons, right? Oh, now I'm more convinced than ever because we have cell phones now, right? And everyone has one, and they're not filming the alien abductions. I'm more convinced than ever. He's more convinced than ever because of all these things he says. But again, he's not taking into account like how advanced these beings are. I mean, he's just not taking into account. See, I know, right? When I talk about extraterrestrials, when I talk about aliens, I know I'm telling the truth. I'm not giving any falsehoods, right? I multiple times I've told people that for one thing, right? One thing I believe, right? One thing that I always say is that these beings are I always say we should just use extraterrestrial as a placeholder for the time being. I say they're extraterrestrial, but maybe they could be. There could be some other form of non-human intelligence, breakaway civilization, like some people say, or interdimensional or ultra terrestrial or whatever, right? So I just say, let's just use extraterrestrial as a placeholder. I just know this, and this is not a falsehood. I know for a fact that there are non-human entities, intelligent entities on this planet because I encountered one. Tens of thousands, if not millions of people have seen these things or encountered them or were abducted by them, whatever, right? There's just many people who have seen these things. And that's why I know that there's something here. I know I'm not giving out a falsehood, right? I just know that there's something going on. I've seen one of these craft moving around. There's no way, right? There was a witness there when I saw this in 1994. I saw a craft in the middle of nowhere coming on a fishing trip, show up 2.5 stories off the ground that made no sound, and it was as big as a house with 3 big giant lights on it. And there's no way that we have something like that. No human aircraft would ever dare move that close to trees, and there's just no way, right? So I know I'm telling the truth. These people are disingenuous. All of them are. They're all disingenuous. They too, right? Because what the Pentagon has just done, they've been tricked in a way by what the Pentagon has done, or they're playing along with them or whatever, right? It's just so sad to see this, and it's so sad that this is the way it's like. I want to know I want to hear more stuff from people like Lou Elizondo, from Jeremy Corbell. Like I talked about recently, our ambassadors to the UFO community, people that know that there's something going on, know that there's a cover up, right? These people need to step forward, and for the United States government to put out there that. To me, right, if the United States government truly doesn't know that there's some sort of presence here, some sort of non-human entity here interacting with humanity, right? If they truly don't know, then guess what? We need to replace them all. They need to get out because they're stupid, right? Because I saw one of these things. I saw one of the crafts, so I know for a fact. So these people are playing games, and I don't believe that. I don't believe that these people are nincompoops, right? Because if that were true, if they don't know, right, then they are. The people protecting the country right now are a bunch of nincompoops, if that were the case. And I don't believe that. I don't think they are nincompoops. And I know that they do have something. They are hiding something. Anyway, I'm going to get to the comments here. Wow, I got a lot of comments here. Wow. Whew. Okay. Some of these I'm not going to read. Okay. JMCJ says, it is interesting that all of the opportunities they could spin from that UFO debunking is top of their list tells me debunking effort is high on a list of priorities for some reason. Mr. Vibrating says, you're dignifying their self-confessed irrelevant opinions. If they admit they don't know what they are on, who cares? Mr. Gray Owl says, Jimbo, I think we could cast NDT for the jester in this Shakespearean theater. Rob Heatherly says, sorry, was late for the party. Didn't get an invite. I see how it is. JMCG says, actually, Rob, I'm not set up to do invites yet. I don't have that kind of setup right now. I'm doing this with the Cyberlink, and you can't invite somebody. Let's see. Where was I? JMCG says, does he not count the gimbal video courtesy of the U.S. Navy? Yeah. The gimbal video, I mean, what is the gimbal video? The gimbal video looks like a flying saucer to me, right? That's what it looks like, right? Apparently there was a fleet of them going around. They don't even talk about that stuff. Rob Heatherly says, more examples of the craft indicating no are being observed have the ability to be outside of the visible spectrum. They seem to often only be seen by choice. Edward Galiza says, do what you're told. Rob Heatherly, no indication because no recovery of craft 2 and 3 shot down, 1 and 4 prosaic. If second was mundane, release the pilot's photos. Well, I think all these objects, I think everything they shot down is a conventional object of some sort, right? I don't think anything was extraterrestrial at all. I mean, they wouldn't just easily shoot these things from the reports from over the decades that a lot of these people in the mainstream media just want to ignore. They don't want to read any books. They don't want to do any research themselves, right? From a lot of the reports, we know that they fly circles around anything that we have, right? Jesse V. Neil is a clown. Yes, he is. He's a clown. I think all of these people, the Stephen Greenstreets of the world, I think Mick West is a clown. I think he's a total clown. I think Neil deGrasse Tyson, unfortunately, and I said this before, I enjoy listening to this guy when he's talking about the universe and the stars and everything else, but this is not his area of study. Obviously, he's brought on to make this a joke, to basically make it look foolish. That's what it's hard to believe that's what's happening still, that the Pentagon is doing this again, and the media is just going along with it. You saw that montage I just showed. I mean, it's just people are making fun of it. It's acting like it's a joke, acting like everyone's saying, oh, they're shooting down aliens. Who's saying that? The media is saying that people are going to think that they're shooting down no, people in the UFO community, I knew this was all nonsense right from the beginning of it with the Chinese spy balloon, right? It's all nonsense. They're going to use this stuff to downplay the whole thing. That's all this is. It was theater. It's all it is theater. Okay, let's see. See if there's any other comments here I should say. The Journal of Awaken says, hello, host. Much love chat. Good vibes. Rob Heatherly, quiet tonight. Was awful last night. Had to review a friend of my son's. Okay, that was all personal things. But, yeah. Here's the thing. I know that this stuff is real. And again, I don't think, is the Pentagon a bunch of nincompoops? I mean, if they don't know, right? Because let me tell you something, right? I'll tell, here's what I know. I know there's something here that's not human, right? Okay, let me tell you what they're able to do. Okay, and I've told this story before, right? But I'm going to tell it again because you know what? I have actually put the personal experiences in the headline this time. So now, if anybody wants to know what happened, the experiences that I had, they could just go to this, because I talk about it all the time. And some people, new followers, they want to know what happened to me. Well, this is why I know there's something going on. And the first thing that happened was 1977. I was 8 years old, almost 9. It was in the summertime, and I used to sleep. I had slept in an attic. You know, on one side, right, there was steps in the middle, and my brother Davey slept on the other side, and there was like a banister around it, but you could see right across the room and everything, right. And I wake up in the middle of the night one night, and I could hear this electronic humming sound. It was like, like that, right? And I could hear this sound. I'm wondering what the hell's going on. And I had, the blanket was over my head, and I could see the shadow of this arm and hand. The hand only had like 3 digits on it. It wasn't a human hand. Whatever kind of hand this was, right? I could tell you right now, it was not human. It had, it was like a smallish arm, and it had 3, but the fingers were like 3. They were thick at the base, but they came to almost points at the tips. And it was just moving above my head like this, up and down above my head. It wouldn't stop. And I'm asking, who's there, right? There was no response. That humming sound continued. I was scared out of my mind, and I didn't want to see what the face of this thing looked like. I was too scared, right? I was thinking it was a devil or a demon, right? I didn't know what it was. And so then I peeked out of the blanket, but not in that direction where that thing was. It was the other side of the room where my brother Davey was sleeping. And when I looked over, his face was facing toward me, right? And I started yelling to him, and that humming sound was somewhat muffling my voice, and he would not wake up. In fact, he didn't budge, nothing. He didn't move around, nothing. He just laid there sleeping like he was in, like conked out somehow. He would not wake up. I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. Start yelling for my mom and dad. Nobody's coming. Nobody came to the rescue. I'm laying there for like 20 minutes. I started saying my prayers. I would close my eyes. I would open them. The thing was still there. The sound was still there. It never went away. And the next thing you know, after about 20 minutes, I passed out somehow, and I woke up the next day. I told everybody about it. Nobody believed me. And for years, I wondered what it was. I didn't know. I thought it was the devil or something like that. I thought it was something evil coming to get me. I had no clue. It wasn't until 10 years later. And let me tell you something. I say that. It took like 10 years till I realized that it was an alien. It had to be, right? That's what it was. There was something there, and I just couldn't figure it out. But, you know, it took me a while to come to that conclusion. It was hard to believe even for me, but I came to that conclusion because it was there, and I knew it was real. There were even times over, you know, like after the first couple of years after it happened, where I would try to convince myself that it wasn't real, that maybe it wasn't real. No, but I always knew. I knew it was real. There was something in the room that wasn't human, and somehow it caused me to pass out. Then at the height of I was in unbelievable fear. Next thing you know, somehow I passed out, slept. I felt like I slept for a long time, and then wake up the next day. So I know they're real, right? I know that this is real. So when the United States government tells us that, hey, there's no extraterrestrials, we have no proof of alien visitors or anything like that, I know that they're lying. Either that, right? Either they're lying or they're complete nincompoops. It's either one or the other. There is no other answer, right? It's either one or the other. Either they're lying or they're complete nincompoops and they need to be replaced. Because they're obviously missing something. Because it's not just me, right? If it was just me, then I probably wouldn't have told anybody in this world, right? Because then the people would have thought I was crazy. But guess what? There's a lot of people. There's tens of thousands. There are millions of people who experience these things throughout the decades. And it's still going on. It still happens. People see these things up close all the time. You know, like the stuff here, like earlier with Neil deGrasse Tyson making statements like, well, you know, people see things far away, and who cares about that? I don't care about that, right? Who cares? Yeah, so that could easily be mistaken for something else, things that are far away. I'm talking about objects that are right up close and personal. Now, the second incident happened in 1994, where I actually saw a craft, right? And I went to a fishing at I was in a private community called Beach Mountain Lakes. It's here in Pennsylvania, near Hazleton, Pennsylvania. It's like a gated community where it's like houses in the woods, and there's a lake there called Beach Mountain Lake. And he wanted to go fishing at this place. He got permission through his somebody who knew his mom or something like that. And he called me up. My one buddy Scott called me up and said, "You want to go fishing with me tonight? I'm going to go night fishing up at this Beach Mountain Lake." So I was like, "Yeah, all right." So he calls me up. And then he picks me up later that day, and I remember stopping at a Walmart. It was the first time it was August of 1994. That was the first time I ever went to a Walmart, because I never went in one before. That was the first time. I remember we went there to get the bait and the tackle and everything, right? And we got to this place. It was just getting dark, starting to get dark out. It was dusk, it must have been like 6 o'clock or something like that. And I remember we went in there, and and he didn't want to fish at the lake. There was a pond that was off the lake, and he wanted to fish there. We went there. We were fishing for like a few hours, and it was about 10 o'clock at night. It was pitch dark. We didn't catch anything that night. It was like really hot. I remember that. And behind me, there was the pond, and then behind me, we were fishing on the shore of the pond. We didn't have a boat or anything like that. We were just, fishing on the shore of it. And behind me was like an open field with tall grass, and then on the perimeter there was these tall trees, right? And at one point during the night, I turned around to get a cigarette out of the tackle box, and when I turned around, I saw these 3 giant lights, like gigantic headlights, lined up behind the trees, like horizontally, right? And I saw them moving behind the trees toward a clearing, and they came to this little clearing that was near the trees. And I said to my buddy, I said, Scott, what the hell's that? And he turned around and I'll never forget the way he said, I don't know. I remember the word "no" was elevated, because here this thing, which was as big as a house, was floating right toward us where our position was. And then it got to like right almost in front of me. It stopped midair, within 20 feet of me, right? And it was only 2.5 stories off the ground, and there wasn't a sound. And my buddy was under the edge of it with a flash. He grabbed the flashlight and shined it up on the belly of this thing, right? And that's when I got scared. I was thinking, this thing's gonna land. I thought this thing was gonna land, right? And so we start hurrying up and throwing all the stuff in the back of his pickup truck. And then meanwhile, the thing started moving in a different direction back over the trees. And then we're in the pickup truck, and the thing, you could still see the thing moving, right? And now I didn't notice this, but my buddy noticed that the trees were bending down. Like the things was so close. I know it was so really close to the trees. I couldn't believe how close to the trees it was. But the treetops, there was some kind of force pushing down the tops of the trees. And they were driving through this dirt road, and we had to stop because there was at least 20 deer that came flying, crossing the road, right? Running away from the direction that thing just flew. We had to sit there and wait, right? Till those deer crossed the path, right? And then we finally got out of there. And I remember we drove into Hazleton, and we went to some donut shop. Now Scott said the thing, I couldn't tell the shape of it because I was right in front of the thing, and those 3 giant lights were like right in front of me. Now he said he was underneath it, and he said it was circular, saucer shaped. So, but we were sitting there in a donut shop, and we weren't talking. Both of us were in shock, and I finally said, Scott, that was a UFO, and he's there. I'm not saying anything. I'm not telling anybody. Again, the stigma. So there are my experiences. So I know that something's going on. I've seen the things. I know that it's real, right? I've seen a being when I was a kid, right? I encountered a being, and then I saw one of the crafts. So I know it's real. So when I hear, when the government says, hey, there's no evidence here of extraterrestrials, they're lying to you. They are lying to you. Right? When the Pentagon says that. Now, maybe the Pentagon official who is saying that person might not know, but there are some people within the Pentagon that know this, that know that there's extraterrestrials here on this planet, that they are in this planet, right? So that's what's going on. So if they don't know, again, my point is, if they do not know this, then the people running our country, the people who are protecting us, are a bunch of nincompoops. They're a bunch of morons, a bunch of idiots, and they need to be replaced. Or our political leaders need to be contacted and say, hey, look, if they don't know about the aliens here, right, then they need to be replaced because they're stupid then. Because there's all these people now throughout all these years that have all these experiences. All of them aren't crazy, right? There's something here. And the government's lying to you. And all this show over the last week and a half or so, right? It's all nonsense. It was theater, like I said the other day. It's all theater, like I said the other day. That's what it is. It was there's these objects are floating around right now. There's stuff floating around. They're not going to shoot them down. This was just a show of force, a show, actually, just a show, I should say. That's what it was. And then the media see how they latch onto it. They make fun of it, and they're trying to make it go away. Now, I'm hoping our ambassadors come back here. Now they're talking like, Lou Elizondo here in the tweet, just ignore these people, the debunkers, and that might be a good idea, right? But we need to come back on them. The ambassadors to the UFO community need to come back and, figuratively, not literally, figuratively punch back. It's time to punch back on these people. Because they're a bunch of liars and these debunkers are idiots, and I'm tired of it, right? I want the truth to come out. I don't know. We're not going to get it, doesn't seem, from the Pentagon. Unless something happens with these whistleblowers. I don't know. I'm going to take a break here and look at the comments because I'm behind here. Okay, where was I? The phenomenon doesn't do. Okay, I'm way behind here. Looks like I got a lot of comments here. Okay, he was kidding about Rob Heatherly was kidding about the lack of invite. Okay, where was I? Okay, Jace MCG says cost and supply of missiles, crew, and fuel versus cost and supply of balloons could become an expensive endeavor. Yeah. Rob Heatherly says, I'm just glad I knew what was required to. Oh, that was something else. That was a personal. Then he says, the phenomenon doesn't do anything by chance. Most all is an elicit a narrative, not just one them and have different agendas. Some pro-human, some neutral, some against. Yeah, there could be. I think there's multiple different entities coming here for whatever reason. I mean, if you see some of the descriptions made by different people and different encounters throughout the years, I mean, I think there's more than one. But it seems like the predominant seems to be the gray aliens who are controlled apparently by the praying mantis type aliens, and apparently there are some reptilians running around here too, and it looks like they're all working together. But then again, sometimes there's other things that people see that don't look anything like these things. Okay, where are we at here? Mr. Grayall says, Jimbo, you should have grabbed an ashtray like Neil deGrasse Tyson recommended. That's hilarious. Yeah, I should have grabbed an alien ashtray. Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson likes to say, yeah, people that get brought on board alien craft should grab an ashtray or something, and then this way they could prove it. I'll tell you what, even if they did grab an alien ashtray, people still would say, no, I don't believe it, I don't accept it. It doesn't matter. The only way you're going to get, the only way I think we're going to get, end this whole debate is like, somebody catches one of these things, and then somehow live streams it before the Pentagon can do anything to stop it. Look what I got. Look what I was out in the woods today. Look what I found. Look at this thing that was walking around. What, you think it's not real now, huh? That'd be the only way. Okay. Let's see. Let's feed him to the ants. Let's see here. Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, there's a lot of comments going on there, but it seems like a lot of people are talking amongst themselves, and that's good to see. But yeah. If anyone, like, this is something I should have learned from Rob and from Shannon from their show. If anybody has a question, put it in all caps, because then this way I could see, because I don't want to go reading off everything here. But I should say that if anybody has some kind of question or comment that they want me to share, to put it in all caps, and then this way, I could recognize what I should be reading, rather. Yeah, but anyway. Yeah, I just don't like the way things are going with this. I don't like what we're seeing right here, right now. I think it's a shame. I don't like these debunkers. I don't like the way they act. I think it's basically it's a disservice to people. I mean, basically they're fools. These people are mostly fools for the most part. Fools. I don't know. They're looking for clicks. They're looking for likes. They're looking for fame, just to show that they don't. Now, in deGrasse Tyson's case, right? The media loves him. He'll go on all these different mainstream news outlets. The media seems to love this guy, and he's a likable guy when he's talking about the galaxy and all that kind of stuff. But you see, I mean, he makes a fool. I mean, obviously the guy's done no research on this. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He just really doesn't know what he's talking about, And then I think Stephen Greenstreet has a vendetta against somebody. So obviously somebody let him down at some point in his. I guess he thinks he's really, like, he probably has a big ego. I think that's what it is. I think the guy has a really big ego, and he's all upset because somebody didn't give him an interview or something in the past, and now what he's doing, he's going to get back at them. He probably had a big cry. Probably was what happened with Greenstreet at some point, in the past, like before he started acting like a total jerk, right? Before he started acting like a total ass. That's what he acting like, right? Before he started acting like that, like somebody let him down, and he thought he was really important, and he should have got the interview, and he didn't get it, and then he cried like a baby, like for like about an hour straight, and then he came up with it. He's probably, that's not important though. They didn't have the interview. He didn't want to have an interview with me. I'll get back at him. I'll show them. That's what I think happened. I mean, based on the way he talked. I mean, go look at this guy's tweets, and you tell me there's not some sort of a venom in there. It's beyond like. But Mick West, it's just this. He's not like that. There's not like it's not venomous, right? But with someone like Greenstreet, right? It's venom. Right, there's like somebody like again, it's like that old saying, "Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned." I think that's what you're seeing with him. You know, it's almost something like that. You know, something like that. And then, but with West, he's just a goofball. You know, you don't really sense the venom in him that much. But again, these people like again. If I was the press, instead the way here's another thing I want to point out. If I were the press, right? If I was the news media, right? The way they act, the way they handle this, you know, you saw like we were showing before some of that montage on how the media doesn't really ask hard questions. You know, if I was a reporter in the room with someone, you know, like Ronald Moultrie or Susan Goff or you know anybody or Susan Go, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. Whoever, right? If I was in a room with one of these people, I would just point out to them, I think you're lying. I would just say, I think you're lying based on all this other information. I mean, there was those, if you're saying there's no evidence of extraterrestrials here, then could you please explain what happened in Zimbabwe in 1994 when all those school kids actually saw a flying saucer and alien beings step out of it? Could you please explain that? Could you please explain the Turkey UFO videos from 2007, 2008, and 2009, which were examined by video experts from 4 different countries who came to the conclusion that the things were real? Because you know that stuff is real. That's evidence. Could you please explain all the physical trace evidence that's been collected throughout the decades? Right? Could you please explain that, sir? Because again, if you don't know that there's an extraterrestrial presence here, that means you're a nincompoop, and you shouldn't be in that position you're in. That's if I was in the media asking questions, that's how I would be doing it. But they don't do that. Basically, all they do, right, they serve as press relations for the Pentagon and then make a joke out of it. That's all they're doing. They never ask hard questions. There's no Watergate style investigation into this stuff ever, right? Ever. They just let the Pentagon give a free ride when it comes to the alien question. When there's so much evidence now that's compiled throughout the decades, and they just don't care. They rather, this is easy. It's so much easier for someone like Ari Melber from MSNBC to sit down and chuck it up with Neil deGrasse Tyson. It's so much easier. You don't have to do any investigation. All you do is bring some moron on about who actually is a moron when it comes to UFOs, like Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? You bring him on, you have a big laugh fest, right? And then that's it. There's no investigation. There's no asking the Pentagon hard questions. There's no sending out reporters to do any real work on this. I mean, it's just so much easier for the media. They're idiots. All right, let me check the comments here. Oh yeah. Okay, I got some. Here's some. Now, yeah, the caps again. Give me caps if you want me to say something or comment. Lots of laughs at Jimbo. This is from Mr. Grayall. Lots of laughs, Jimbo. You are the king of impersonations. Rock on, bro. And then Mr. Grayall again. Jimbo, it's pronounced Susan Go, as in go away. There you go. Okay. Susan Goff. Maybe then you know what? Thank you for telling me that it's pronounced Susan Go. I'll from this point out, I'll call her Susan Goff. If it's pronounced Go, I'll call her Goff. Just kidding. Yeah. Okay, yeah, Susan Go, whatever. You know, these people apparently. That's another thing. I from what I understand, Susan Go, Steve, regarding debunkers like Stephen Greenstreet. Apparently, he's close with Susan Go, and she probably leading him around by the nostrils, right? Telling them all kinds of Pentagon lies about when it comes to the extraterrestrial reality. Because let me tell you something, folks. Regardless of what's been going on over the last week and a half, right? That's all a show. The balloons, okay, who cares, right? Stuff like that's floating around right now. I guarantee you, there's stuff floating around over our heads right now. That balloons, all kinds of stuff. Some drones probably, or some inflatables that look like airplanes. All kinds of different things are floating around over our heads right now. And every now and then, when people are asking too many questions, or people are getting really interested in extraterrestrials, they think we're getting closer. The Pentagon will pull a stunt like it did over the last week and a half to say, hey, look, it's all just nonsense. It's easy to shoot them down. Obviously, they're not extraterrestrial. That's all it is. And the media will make a big joke out of it. The debunkers will think they won something when they didn't win anything, right? They're a bunch of idiots. And this is how it's going to be. It's just how it's going to be. But yeah, again, at some point, right? I don't know how it's going to happen, but at some point we're gonna be there. Like I know this. Here's what I will say this much, right? I will, with regard to these debunkers, I know I'm right, right? They are not right. I know that they're wrong, right? I know that they're wrong. I got an ace up my sleeve. Unlike, I got something up my sleeve. I got an ace that gives me a royal flush. Right now, people like Mick West and Stephen Greenstreet, they're lucky if they have a two pair in their hand, right? Neil deGrasse Tyson, when it comes to this subject, right? I guarantee you, right? I got an ace up my sleeve that gives me a royal flush. There's no way I could lose, right? Whether it happens tomorrow or 75 years from now, right? At some point, it will be shown, it will be proven to the world that there is an extraterrestrial presence here, right? At some point, there will, and I will be right. I know I'm right because I saw these things. I know these people are wrong. I know that they're wrong. And that's it's so frustrating that we're still playing this game. It's so frustrating that the secret control group that's in charge behind the scenes, right, is just won't let up. They won't give it up. They don't want to give it up. You know, it's almost like, to me, it's basically what it seems like. It's the military-industrial complex. I mean, Eisenhower warned about this, that the military-industrial complex was, getting too big for its britches. And guess what? It's out of control now. He was completely correct. Right, it's too big for its britches. All they're interested in, they're manufacturing weapons for this country. Right, they want more war. That's why they exist. They want more war. The weapons manufacturers are, to the Pentagon. You start the war, we'll make more weapons. I mean, that's what's going on here, right? And so that's what this is all about. They're studying this technology secretly. They don't want the word out about what they have, what they've recovered, right? This has nothing to do. I think that's what it's coming down to. I think that's the reason for this. I think that's the reason for the continued cover-up. Because obviously, when you think about the Wilson Davis memo, right, obviously it seems like the people in charge in the shadows are people working for private manufacturers, right? And there's weapons manufacturers, and you can't get to them. Right? You can't force, like even someone like Admiral Wilson was unable to break into it. They wouldn't let him in. And then he was told by his superiors in the Pentagon to stay away or you'll lose everything. That's what's going on. I believe that's what's going on. And they're fighting really hard to keep that secret. Hopefully we're able to pry it out. Hopefully with that new whistleblower language is going to bear some fruit throughout this year. A lot of people think that this is the year, but again, I don't know. When you have stuff like what just happened over the last week and a half, and boy, I'll tell you what, it rips your heart out. I mean, and you see how the media handles it, right? It really, it's upsetting. You see the power, you see the wheels in motion. The power that a regular guy like me, I don't have the kind of power that they have. I can sit here and say whatever I want. It doesn't matter. But hey, we got to keep fighting. We got to hope that the ambassadors, the people I talk about all the time, that I think serve as ambassadors, the Elizondos, the Corbells, the George Knapps, all these people, the Christopher Mellons, that they're able to cause something to happen here, to finally break through. Hopefully they're up. Hopefully they got some cards up their sleeve too. Hopefully. Okay, one more check here and that's it. Well, I just want to say thank you everyone for joining me tonight. And until next time. Now, next time I plan on talking about, I'm sick of talking about Balloongate. I think I talked about it every time for the last 4 or 5 times here now. So next time I want to talk about some other things regarding this phenomenon, some more interesting stories. So until next time, I want to say thank you everyone for leaving comments and for stopping in and for listening to me rant and rave. I really appreciate it. And until next time.